Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm your presenter, Nathan, so I'll be going through today's session, covering through various aspects of Protean that you might not already be aware of, and just some general tips and tricks, so hopefully that you can gain benefit of moving forward. Just a quick pause whilst we wait for some more people to join. So we'll be getting started shortly. If you do have any questions during today's session, please feel free to enter those in the questions pane on the GoToWebinar screen that you'll be looking at. We will be keeping an eye on the questions during today's sessions. If there are any ones that we feel are relevant to everyone, we will be sharing those with the rest of the audience. Following today's session, if you do have any questions, comments or suggestions for any future webinars you'd like to see, please email us at consultants@proteansoftware.co.uk. Now, of course, if you do have any technical difficulties during today's session, please go to help.citrix.com/webinar/join. Now, for all of you who are currently attending, I've given a quick brief overview as to what we will actually be covering during today's webinar. So we'll be starting off with the file and documents area of the system. It's an area of the system that not too many people are utilizing at the moment from our research. Effectively, from the customer, supplier, equipment or parts screen, there is either a files or documents button whereby you can attach any pictures or PDFs, Word documents, anything at all, and they'll be easily viewable from not only within the Protean window, you can then navigate through those. So we'll be going through those first of all. Then we have the user reference area of the system, again something that we feel can really be utilized on a larger scale than it is currently. Almost every screen within Protean has what we call user reference fields. Most have anywhere between 2 and 4 options. They're effectively fields that you can retype, so you can relabel them, and they are then available to view within the global inquiry screens or apply filters on. So they're a really handy area of the system, which again, we'll go through those afterwards. Then we have the advanced filters and global inquiry settings. Again, the system does allow for quite advanced reporting with a number of inbuilt reports, but with the global inquiry screens, with them being so versatile in their setup, there are a lot of options within there that we can benefit from and export data out and then run reports on. So we'll be covering that at length today as well. There is a video on our help website going into the advanced filters in a lot of detail, so by all means feel free to check that out afterwards if you do have any questions or want to trial anything out from there. Then we're going to be covering the links button, which is visible on the customer and supplier equipment screens. Again, it allows for really quick navigation between different areas of Protean, applying a filter on that particular customer or supplier or piece of equipment. Again, very simple stuff, but it does allow for very quick navigation between different screens. Another area is the profit analysis screen, effectively allowing for very high-level reporting on the business as a whole, splitting between different modules in terms of maintenance contracts and jobs, giving a very kind of specific month-by-month breakdown of different revenue generated in terms of part sales, labour sales, costings. Again, not an area of the system a lot of customers are utilising at the moment, so we just wanted to cover that in a bit of detail today as well. Then quickly, the rest of the points, the job number search feature. Again, a lot of people know that within a job screen or a sales order, you can use the order number field to search for a different job number or a different order number if you do have it to hand, rather than going through the global inquiry screen and navigating down to try and find the relevant job. If you have got the job number to hand, you can quickly just overtype it, hit enter, and the new job will then appear. And then just the different screens within the job screen as well, the different view buttons on a multi-equipment or on a multi-equipment job or on the parts tab, just allowing you to see more detail within that area of the system. Then quickly, the last three, we've got the advanced user tick box, which is applied against each employee record. We'll just go over the different benefits that then does give you. How to list any favorite reports within the reporting system. And then lastly, setting up any recipient groups as well. So you can group together any people in the service department or the engineers. So when you are sending messages within the application, you're not having to select each individual user. We can just select one group, knowing full well who that's then going to apply to. Now, we'll hope to cover all of these 9 points in today's session. Hopefully, we'll have enough time to do so. If we do get through it relatively quickly, again, like I mentioned before, please feel free to send us any questions or any suggestions in the comments pane. If we do have time, we will be able to action them today. Fingers crossed. Now getting straight into it, we're going to jump into the documents and files area of the system. So we'll start off within the stock area. So this morning I created 2 parts. Now, within a part record, you actually have this documents button that just sits in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Now, if I was to click on that documents button, I've enabled the system so that it's effectively got a picture of that bolt already linked there, so I can see it whenever I need to, all from the stock screen. Now, you may be wondering how we do that. I'll show you all that now. So within the system area of the system, within the settings module, scroll down to get to your Fs, and you'll see there's 4 different file directory settings. Now, as you can see, I've mapped them all to my C drive currently, as this is a local system that I use myself. But if you were to set this up at your business, please make sure to use a UNC path or a server location whereby everyone can access it as well. So it's not just all saved locally to one PC. Every user within the business can gain access to it. Now, within here, within the folder that I've set in the settings, you want to then navigate to that within your Explorer window. Now, if I was to boot up a quick File Explorer, you can see that within my C drive and my folder called Parts, as directed to in the settings window here, I've got 2 images, a bolt and a filter. Now, because the image or folder is named as such, it's mirroring the part number exactly. The moment you click on the Documents button, it boots up the image straight away. Now, this is mirrored within the customer screen, within the equipment, within the supplier, and I'll show you all that in a moment. Now, within my Explorer window, I've got 2 images at the moment. Now, let's say, for example, this particular part, this particular bolt, I've got a few more details that I would like to record as well. I don't just want a single image to appear when I click that Documents button. If I create a folder within the subdirectory that I've already got set up and label the folder bolt. Now, you won't have to worry about any capitals, it's just me being pedantic. Now, if I copy both images into that folder, now within my part record, if I click on the Documents button now, the system will actually boot up the folder itself, showing me every item that I've got located in that folder. So particularly useful on the customer or supplier area of the system if I wanted to have any quotations that I've raised, or again within the equipment area, I could have different images or specification sheets that may be handy. Again, all, as you can see, all very easy to navigate to. Once in a record, just boots up a little window here for me to select. Now, as we saw, if I did just have the one image or one item in that folder, when you click on the Documents button, it will just open up that image or document straight away. It won't present you with a file option like we've got on screen at the moment if you've got less than 2 items within the folder or named the same. Now, just to quickly demonstrate them, if we go into the customer screen, and if I just choose any customer that I've got in mind, you can see within here, within the links button, I've then got the files option. So that works in exactly the same way as the documents option worked on the part screen. They work in exactly the same manner. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to now navigate to my C drive and into my customers folder. And you can see I've got a PDF file just in there ready to go. So what I would need to do is create a folder and label it exactly the same as the alpha code behind. So that's how the system then knows which files are linked to what. So if I copy my engineer quote into my folder, now back at my customer screen, if I click on the links button and onto files, you see the system just boots up our engineer PDA guide straight away for me. Now again, the same thing would occur there within that folder. If I've put multiple items in, I'll be presented with another window there to select exactly which item that I would like to see. Now, the reason we have to use the alpha code for the customers, and same goes for the suppliers, within the equipment area of the system, what we have to then use if you are going to set up an image or a document, the control within the equipment screen is the equipment number. Now, the reason that we use the part number, equipment number, alpha codes for the customers and suppliers is because they're guaranteed to be unique. So there's no other fields on the screen within an equipment, part, or customer which we're guaranteed to be unique across the whole database. So that's the reason why within the folder structures, be it a customer, be it a piece of equipment, be it a part, we'll always use the unique value from there. Stuff. So what we will now do is we're going to jump into the user reference area of the system. Now, as we've got a customer screen open at the moment, the user references currently by default, if they haven't already been utilized within your database, is they will be labeled just reference 1, 2, 3 or 4, depending on which screen you're currently looking at. Now, some of the user references are pre-set up to be drop-down menus, like we have here on the customer screen. Others, for example, against an equipment record, we have one drop-down menu and the rest are then just free type fields. So as you can imagine, the benefit of having a drop-down menu is that when we actually come to report on these fields or filter on them within the global inquiry screens, having a drop-down menu allows us to have continuity between the different screens and the different options available to us. The free type option, of course, has the benefit of the fact that it's free entry, so we can put anything we want in there. The potential loss that you get there is you might not be able to report on them as much if they've been typed in slightly differently, if you've got different capitals or different letters here and there. Now, where we actually go to set these up, very simple and straightforward. If we go into the System tab, within the General heading, we have the More option, and the user references just sit right at the bottom of the screen from there. Now, what you'll then be presented into is the User Definable Fields screen. And as you can see, we've got all the different forms and screens that we have within the system whereby the user references are available to us. Now, again, depending on whether I'm looking at the customer screen, depends on whether I've got 2 drop-down menus. If I go into the equipment, I can see I've got 1 drop-down menu and then 3 free type fields. Now, if I wanted to, for example, so the customer, I wanted to rename that reference 1. So just do that as test. The moment I hit the enter key on the keyboard, if you keep an eye on the reference 1 field just there, you'll see it renames it straight away for us. Same will go for the equipment. If I do exactly the same there, just enable that number. We can see that the moment I hit enter on there, it's renamed that field for me straight away. Lovely. Right, we just had a few questions come in, so we just need to take a quick pause, just have a quick flick through them. Won't be a moment. Before we move on, just on one last note on the user reference fields, just to show you a quick example of how we add any information to any potential drop-down menus. So let me just quickly rename this one from test into industry. Now, if I wanted to add to the drop-down menu, I've got two ways to do so. I can do so from the actual screen itself, from the customer screen. Overtype the field, hit enter, the system will say it's not in the list, do I want to add it? And if I click yes, that's now available to me forevermore within the other screens that we maybe then be looking at. Now again, if I just go back into my reference field over here, within this screen, I'm actually able to not only edit the description itself, so if there are any spelling errors, for example, we'll be able to amend those. I'm also able to delete any options that may be added in error. So again, the way I've accessed that is to just click on the three dots icon just next to the particular drop-down menu I'm after. And from there, it's just a simple case of either edit or delete. Of course, it's not being used on another record. I should then still be able to edit it, however. So there we go. So yeah, just to bear in mind, if you have got it entered in and it is on another record elsewhere, just ensure that you've then taken it off that screen before then being able to then make any deletions within this window here. And that actually takes us on quite well to how would I actually be able to report on that? Where would I be able to see it? How can I report on the different industries, for example, that we've set up against the customers now? Now, the way you do that is all through the global inquiry window. So if I tidy up my Protean a little bit, so we've got a nice fresh screen. If I go into my customer list, you can see at the moment what I've got is I've got my alpha code, my customer name, my address fields, and just so happens I also have my industry showing on screen as well. So that means that from here I can then sort by, I can filter on a particular industry if I wanted to. So for example, if I just wanted to see any forklifts, I can then highlight the cell itself and then click on my filter button. And that'll sort down my list straight away. And we can see there that it's now presenting me two results and it's telling me the inquiry screen has been filtered as well. So the global inquiry screens, they're very versatile. They've got a lot of play with them. There's a lot of things that you can do. Now, the first thing that I want to show you before we get onto the how we run any form of advanced filters, filtering on any form of description, you can actually control what information you can see on screen. Now, the global inquiries, they export brilliantly to Excel. So what we've noticed straight away is the fact that we've got the address all in one cell. So if I was aiming to run a mail merge, I'd want to be able to report on the postcode in an individual cell, especially within Excel, so I can then formulate any kind of plan or marketing scheme from there. So the way I can then split that or control exactly what I can see from my global inquiry window is to anywhere within the main body of the screen. If you right click, you can see I'm then presented with a large list of different areas within the customer screen that I can tick to then be visible on my global inquiry window. So for example, I may not want to see the full address in one big cell. So if I untick my address field, scroll down and then tick each individual aspect that I want to see. Again, we have our industry one field out there. Now the choose field screen that we are in the moment will show any amendments to the user reference fields that you have already entered. So if I keep scrolling down, we will notice that reference 2, which I hadn't renamed, has remained labeled as reference 2. But the moment I was to then utilize that and overtype that with whatever it is that I wanted to report on, that would then update as well, as we can see has done so there with the industry. So just keep scrolling down. I'm going to carry on with my address lines. Now, as you can see, there are a number of fields here that I have left unticked. Of course, what you could do if you wanted to was you could tick absolutely every single one, export the details into Excel and then filter it out from there. Or you might find it easier to just view it all within the Protean window and then just export any information that you then may need to then get out from there. But the fact is you've got the full capability to then tick whatever it is you want to see, whatever's useful at the time. And it's always something you can then revert back to the default or just find something that fits your screen and what information you want to see as well. So now that I've ticked all my areas for my address, if I click the OK button to apply that, you can see the system has now split the address line across each individual area that I then want to report on. Now again, within the global inquiry screens, as I'm sure you've seen already when I was sorting, each header works independently then to each other. So effectively, I can then sort by town, I can sort then by county if that was how I wanted to do it. And again, same goes for postcode as well, which will just be sorted alphabetically. Now, with the layout that I have on screen, I've got all the information that I then need as a reporting tool for what I then want to do. So say, for example, this exact view is how I want my screen to be displayed moving forward. Perhaps I want it to always, whenever I open my global inquiry, I want to see my list of customers sorted by created date first, so I can keep track of any new customers that are being added into the database. As I've clicked on the created date header, which we can just see there, if I move the cursor over a little bit. There we go. If that's how I want my screen to be displayed, if I then right click again anywhere within the main body of the screen, click the save layout option, the system will then prompt you to say that the layout's been saved. Simply click OK. So just quick conscious of the time there. So we're going to have a quick jump to the jobs global inquiry, just to have a quick look at some of the advanced filters. And as I mentioned before, we have got a full detailed video on our support website if you do want to look at any of this information in a little bit more detail after today's session. So quickly, I'm going to open up my jobs global inquiry. Now, the advanced filters just sit within this filter line that we've got here. Any saved filters or created filters that we've got already on the system will just be available within the drop-down menu. However, if we wanted to see those filters in a little bit more detail, or we wanted to actually add any new ones, we'll simply click on our three dots icon just next to that line, just there. You'll then be brought into the inquiry filter or the advanced filter screen, as we are calling it today. So what you then want to do is click on the new button if you're creating a new, or if you wanted to amend an existing one, simply select it from the drop-down menu, and you can then make any changes that you need to from there. So in today's example, we are going to create a new, and what I'm going to do straight away is I'm going to rename it to say to do contains truck. Now, what you've then presented with on the right-hand side of the screen are all the different options within the job screen that we can then run a report on. So, for example, within this example here that I'm creating, I want to see any jobs with the to-do of the job itself containing the word truck. Now, first, that might seem quite complex. Might be wondering how we're actually going to do that. It's actually very simple to do. So what I want to do, first of all, is select my to-do option from the drop-down menu. See, sitting right at the bottom there, and then click my left arrow to bring it over into the actual main body of the screen. Now, this is where to do equals to. Now, effectively the control of the filter is initially started by the first drop down that we see here. So especially useful for some of the numerical fields, you can put an in between or an equals to or greater than or less than. What we are going to do here is we're going to leave that on equals to, and I'm going to utilize the wildcard search feature that we've got available to us. Now, the way we utilize that is simply Shift 8, so you get your asterisks, type in the word that you want to filter on, end it with the asterisk, so regardless of whether it's at the start or at the end of the to-do, as long as it contains the word truck, I should then see a list of all my jobs with that information on there. So once I've done that, simply click the apply button. And what I should then be able to see, I can see the global inquiry has then shortened from a list of 500 jobs to a list of 40. And if I sort my to-do, I should then see that each one, make that a little bit bigger for us to see. Again, apologies that some of them are quite lengthy, so we might miss it. But again, each one of these jobs, we guarantee that it will contain the word truck being in the to-do. Now, if I go back into my filter, again, just clicking on the three dots icon just there. As the creator of the filter, I have the ability to control how the advanced filter is shared between the rest of the business. The way I do that is just via the sharing drop-down menu on the top right-hand corner of the screen. So if you leave it as not shared, which will be the default whenever you create a new filter, this advanced filter will only be visible for you and your login. If you select read only, it will then be able to be accessed by the rest of the business when looking at the jobs list. However, they won't be able to make any change. And then finally, full access, as I'm sure you can imagine, just means that everyone has full access to the filter. Everyone can make changes to it. Everyone can make amendments, rename it, delete it, or make complete changes to it. So again, just be mindful of that sharing feature. If you have created a filter that you find would be useful for the rest of the team and no one else has access to it, just bear in mind that you might just have to then amend that sharing option to be able to see that. Now, back to my list of jobs. What I have a quick look at now is we saw earlier with the customer screen, you always have the ability to filter on any individual piece of information on screen. So for example, I could filter on my list of jobs with the status of unallocated, for example, which would then give me a list of 106 jobs rather than 500. And I can then take that one step further and then filter on, say, is it chargeable, yes or no? Again, filtering my list down. Now, that's great, can serve a purpose, does a great job of just filtering that single piece of information. But say, for example, you wanted to see a list of all your unallocated jobs as well as any jobs on the quoted status, for example. Or the same might go for your job type. I might want to see a list of my hire breakdown, my unallocated hire breakdowns, also including any call-outs that I've currently got outstanding. Again, all done via the advanced filter option within that filter screen. So if I just reset my view, click on my three dots, and then click on the new feature to create a new filter. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to bring over my job type, and I'm actually going to bring it over twice. So what that enables me to do is I can set one job type first of all, and it allows me to then filter on another as well. So I've got the filter currently set up to show me my hire breakdown and my breakdown job type. So when you're adding multiple lines, it's very important to set how the weighting of the filter. So we can see there the system's put and on both lines that we've got. What we want to do is say, right, job type equals to breakdown or higher breakdown. Now the way we do that is you highlight on the individual line, whichever one it may be. On the bottom left hand corner, we then have the ability to switch that. So rather than just trying to search on a job type containing both fields, we've actually got it set now where it says, right, it will equal breakdown or higher breakdown, giving us that advanced list. So if we click apply on this screen now, what I should then see is I've got then a list of 189 jobs just containing breakdowns and higher breakdowns. Again, we could then add more complex elements to that filter by then adding in a status equal then to unallocated only, or we could then leave that as it is and then just highlight on any individual field, and then I've got that list again moving forward. So within the advanced filters, again, I'd definitely recommend checking out our video on the support website. We go into it in a lot more detail, look at how we can weight certain options so that if one equals another, it then looks at other aspects within the filter itself. But again, yeah, so please feel free to check that out. Again, if you do have any questions in the meantime, please pop them through in the chat. So the next item on our list was the links button. Now the links button is housed within the customer screen, the supplier screen, the part screen, and the equipment screen. So we'll start off within the equipment. There's no filter on any particular piece of kit. Now the links button sits in the bottom right hand corner in this particular screen. And what the system will then enable me to do is I can jump to any module of the system whereby a piece of equipment might be involved in. So we can see that I've got the inspections, I've got the jobs, I've got the maintenance contracts, any purchase orders or sales orders this particular piece of kit has been involved in. And what the system will then do is it will filter down my list of either jobs or maintenance contracts containing just that piece of equipment. So for example, if I was to click on jobs, let's hope that there's been some job history of this piece of kit, and there hasn't. So let's find a quick example. So I've got equipment here, S1015. If I was to click on my links button and onto jobs, what I should then see is a full history of the jobs for that particular piece of kit relating to that particular depot. Now, if we have got multiple depots on the system, you can then always take that out if need be. And so again, I can just see all the pieces of kit or all the jobs in this instance relating to that specific equipment ID. Again, allowing me to see a full history of services, of call outs for that particular piece of kit. Again, that would, if this particular item was used on a single equipment job or a multiple equipment job, this screen will still show me all the jobs that particular equipment number has been involved on. Same goes for the customer screen as well. So if I open up a customer account, click on the links button, again, I can see every area of the system where a customer can be entered or involved in. So again, for example, in this one, I'm going to take the jobs. What I can see then is that I've got 3 jobs that we've done for this customer. I can see one's awaiting complete, one's invoiced, and one's unallocated. Again, giving me a full history there from cancelled to archived of all the jobs that we've carried out for that particular customer. Again, even down to the invoices, for example. So we can always, if a customer's querying an invoice, we can dive into their customer record, go into links and invoices, and we'll see a list of all the invoices that we've ever raised for that customer. As you can see, we've got a fair few on this particular test database that we've got. So that's the links button. Again, we feel like that's something that really can be utilized a lot more than it is currently. Again, the ability to open up a record, be it a piece of equipment or a customer, and quickly look at the full history for that particular item within 2 clicks can be really useful moving forward. And again, bear in mind, you're then brought into the global inquiry screen, which you can amend the information that shows on it. So for example, if you are looking at any jobs that have been invoiced, you can add in the choose fields option a job total, so you can then filter on what were the highest revenue earning jobs versus the lower. Again, all that information can then be tailored on a inquiry by inquiry basis. So now what we're going to jump onto is the profit analysis screen within Protean. Now, where that's situated, it's just situated within the reports module, under the drop-down menu, and then we've got the profit analysis screen here. So again, as mentioned before, it's designed for the very high-level customer reporting. So if I bring that over from my second screen, you can see what we can do. We can filter on different areas of the system where we have raised invoices from, so be it equipment sales, be it hire contracts, be it jobs, be it maintenance contracts. And again, depending on which module it is that we're selecting is then the available information that we can then filter on moving forward. So if I keep it on the jobs, for example, I can then show the last 12 months and select a period up to. It's very important. The system here is using the period end to move forward into the next period. So if you are not utilizing the periods area, might be worth a phone call to support to bring that period over into the latest period. Or again, if you are, that won't be a problem for you to just be able to utilize this straight away. So I can filter by a particular job number if I wanted to, or a job type, even down to a particular customer record if I wanted to as well. Again, you then can even filter it by a particular make if you're looking at the job revenue and cost over a 12-month period on a make and model basis, or even down to category type and subtype if you are utilizing that area of the system as well. So leaving all the filters blank, just to click search to give you guys an idea of exactly how the screen then shows. Click on the search, you can see it's breaking it down on a period by period basis, showing me my last 12 months, breaking down a difference in revenue and cost, net profit, and a percentage margin as well. All of this information can then, of course, like I said, be filtered down further if need be printed or exported into Excel if you wanted to then generate any kind of flowcharts in the Excel screen as well from there. And just to quickly show you the other two tabs that we've got, so we've got the summary containing both revenue and cost. And again, this particular item within the jobs area, if I click onto my revenue, it then shows me my breakdown between labor, parts, and MISC, and then any fixed price jobs as well. Same goes for then the cost as well. So I get a breakdown of my labor, parts, and MISC costs as well, which I can then report on further from there. So again, like I say, guys, it's a very high-level reporting tool. Again, showing it on a period-by-period basis as an overall. Again, of course, you can apply any filters if need be, but it's always going to show you on a period-by-period basis the overall revenue, cost, and profit margins across the different modules of the system. Lovely. Now, moving on just slightly then. So we're going to jump back into our jobs module, and we're going to have a quick look at how we can search using the unique numbers on each screen, as well as the extra screens within the job screen that you might not already be aware of that exist. So what we're going to quickly do is I'm going to create a quick job, select my site, and if I place the job, what I should then get is my job number situated in the top right hand corner. So on our new job, we've got job number 17456. Now, if I pull up my list of my global inquiry and I just filter by all the different jobs, I can see I've got a relatively old one here of 12072. Now, use my Windows button, jump back into the job that I've just created. So if I know the job number in its entirety, what I can do is I can overtype my job number field in the top right hand corner just here. So 12072. Hit enter, and the system will then boot up the job that I've then selected. So rather than me going into my global inquiry screen, filtering on customer or equipment or the age of the job, if I have got the job number to hand, simply overtype it within my job number field at the top of the screen, hit enter, and you'll be brought straight away into that job without having to go through the other methods. Now, this is exactly the same for any equipment numbers as well. So I can see there, if I open up equipment number 10, if I wanted to then navigate to equipment number 17, simply overtype, hit enter, and it will boot up that one straight away for me as well. Now, again, it's very, I'd always bear in mind that if you are going to, in certain screens, not necessarily for the job, but for stuff like the part record or the equipment record, if you were to type in a number that might potentially not exist, the system will say it can't find it, and it will try and add that record onto the database for you. So you'll be presented with a yes or no. So if it's one that you've maybe pasted into the field and you've missed a character, you can always click no and it won't just automatically create it for you. But again, something to bear in mind that on the parts and the equipment screen, if you do utilize the search field, the unique search field, and it's not in the list, it will try and prompt you to create a new one. Now, some of you may notice there, just navigating between the two screens, I was utilizing the option that we've got up here, which is the Windows button. Now, the Windows button becomes available when within the employee area of the system, you've got the advanced user box ticked. Now, to tick that box, all you need to do is go into the System tab, into the Employees area, select the relevant employee from the drop-down list, and then within the Login tab, you've then got this Advanced User tick box. Now, depending on whether that's ticked or unticked is whether the Windows button will then be available to you moving forward. Now, the system, as I'm sure you guys are aware, Protean always opens any new windows on top of any existing ones. So, for example, if I was to then try and boot up my jobs list and open up a job, and do the same thing with an equipment record, and open up an equipment record, the system will then just keep everything open in the background, but just on top of each other. Now, save myself closing all my windows down just to gain access to that original employee record that I had behind, I can utilize my Windows button and navigate back to it very quickly with 2 clicks rather than closing 4 or 5 windows to get back to that exact screen that I was in previously. Now, another benefit of the advanced user tick box is that when you do open up, for example, an equipment record from the global inquiry or a job or a contract, the system will always keep the global inquiry open behind you, which in turn enables the ability to use these up and down arrow keys to cycle up and down through the list that's remained open behind. If the advanced user box is unticked, whenever you open up a job or a piece of equipment, the system will close or hide the global inquiry screen behind you, so you won't see it open behind you from there. Now, onto our last 2 points that we've got available to us. So again, guys, if you do have any questions or anything you want me to cover, we still have about 10-15 minutes left of the webinar. Please ping them over in the chat box that you've got available to you. So just quickly then, within the favorite reports, you first need to open up the reports module. So rather than clicking on the drop-down menu, which we got to for our profit analysis screen, just click on the main icon above it. Now, and then from there, you'll be brought into the report system from there. Now, in total, I think there are over or close to 300 odd reports in this screen, which have been built up over time. So to save you having to remember the report name or keep a copy printed on your desk so you can always navigate back to it, what we've enabled is the fact that you can always add to any favorite screen. So we can see there, the first option is brackets favorites. So let's say, for example, I want to favorite a customer spend report. Customer spend by Alpha. Simply click on the report that I want to add to my favorites and then click on the add to favorites button that will then appear in the bottom middle of the screen. Click on it once, you'll be asked, are you sure you want to add this to your favorites? Simply click yes, and the system then, the next time we boot up the reports area, will default me into my favorites option, just showing me a list of all my favorite reports. Now, again, this can be, you can add as many in here as you want. So again, any frequently used reports, it's definitely a way to save yourself having to navigate through a few menus to try and find it. And bear in mind, the system will always then sort any favorite reports in alphabetical order, as shown below. Now, one thing to bear in mind, if you do add the report to your favorites, it's not going to save any date ranges that you've entered or any filters that have been applied to that report if they are applicable. It will always revert back to the original state of the filters. So as you can see here, it's showing me log date from the first 1995 to today. So if I was to filter that by a particular customer and change the dates, if I was to have then clicked add to favorites after entering that information wouldn't have been saved and pulled over into my favorites. It would always revert back to the original information at the point of entering the report. Now, the last one we've got on our list is the recipient groups. Now, again, not a huge amount of people are utilizing the inbuilt messaging system within the Protean application. We find it really helpful here in the office. We use it quite a bit. And I find it's really great for the engineers if they're sending images back and it's not specific to a job and it's sending it back to someone in the office or even between engineer to engineer. I think it's a great tool. Now, as part of the messaging system, it's all housed within the inbox icon that you'll have on your top bar of your Protean software. So to click on the drop-down menu, I'll be presented with the ability to create a new message, check my outbox, and then the messaging options from there. Or if I simply click on my icon, I'll then be brought into another global inquiry window displaying all my current messages that I've had received to me. Now, if I was to create a new message, I'm then brought into my message screen. I'm then able to enter in a subject and anything in the main body of the image. But if I go to select who the message is being sent to via the 3 dots icon just on the to line, I'll be presented with a list of all the current employee records on the system. Now, If I wanted to group together all my engineers into one group, that might be field engineers, that might be workshop engineers, it might be sales staff, service administrators, whatever the situation may be. We can create a recipient group and then add individual users to that group so that when I am sending the message, I'm not having to select each individual person each time. Now, it's not to say you won't lose that ability. You can always create a new message and select an individual person or two or three. They may be within the same group. The system won't force you to use the group at that stage, but it's just an additional feature that you may want to then utilize moving forward. So if I close this message that I've got currently set up, and I'm going to discard it so far, the recipient groups are held within the System tab, again within the General area and under the More option, and then Recipient Groups is just third from the bottom from there. So what I can then do is I can then add, edit, or delete any current groups that I've currently got set up. So what I'm going to do is just create a new one, label it Engineers, and all I do from there is simply tick who my engineers are. And if I can remain in this screen, I can keep adding more and more. So service. And as you can see then, my groups are then set up for me. And if I go back to my create message screen within the inbox area, and within my to option, click on my three dots, you can see then I've then got the service team and engineers option available to me. If I bring that over to the middle, just puts my to field as engineers. So if you ever needed to double check exactly who that's going to again, or if you wanted to add someone in, just remember it's just within the System tab, More, and then recipient groups on there, and you'll be able to see exactly who's currently ticked, untick anyone, retick anyone. You've got full control of it moving forward. Lovely. Right, so have a quick pause just to check the questions pane, and if there is any extra information or anything that we want to relay back to everyone else, we'll be back in just a moment. Guys. So one question that has come in is that does the advanced user tick box against the employee record actually affect any access rights on the system? Now the answer to that is no. What in terms of access rights you've got set up is actually controlled by the role that you've got set against that employee record. So ticking or unticking the advanced user won't change those access rights at all. And again, those access rights are then held within the security tab and then the access rights area just there. So again, we've got a full video of that on our website going into it in a lot more detail as to how the access rights work. So please feel free to check that out. But if just a quick overview, the security roles that are available within that drop-down menu are held within the security option within the System tab and security roles. From here, you can select a particular role and you'll be able to see exactly who is ticked as that role. And if you are adding any additional users, say you've got a service advisor, one has the ability to authorize jobs, one doesn't, you can copy the access rights from one role, apply the copied version to the new user, and then make that one small adjustment to the access rights. So again, it's saving you having to go into the access rights screen and ticking and unticking all the relevant forms and reports and screens. You can just mirror one and then make any small amendments, small minor amendments from there. So the way we do that is we're just within the access rights area. You can see the system breaks down the access rights on a per module basis. So for example, if I take the jobs area, expand the forms, you can see I've got different area of the job system whereby I can control access rights. And just taking create and edit jobs, for example, I've then got the ability to then control who has the option to invoice a job or who has the option to delete a visit, allow changes to signed visits, things like that. And then you can see I've got the list of roles just situated on the right hand side, and I can tick and untick whoever may have then access to that area. Now, bear in mind, when you are ticking, you are excluding the person or the role from being able to do that action. So, for example, the invoice area, if I tick the, let's say the users option, anyone related to that user role will then not have that access right available to them anymore. Lovely stuff, guys. Right, we'll just have another quick read of the questions pane. So just give me one moment and we'll see if we've got anything else that I think could be relayed back to the rest of you guys. Right, guys, so we haven't had any more questions come in, so I think we're going to wrap that up for today. So again, thank you very much for attending. Screen again. Okay. So we are going to be doing a repeat of our webinar that we carried out on Tuesday, which was the TVH My Total Source integration. That will be happening on the 4th of May. And then after that, we will then have another webinar presented by one of my colleagues in terms of the Opera and QuickBooks integration, the account software integration. So again, guys, if there's any one of those that you feel that you're going to benefit from, please feel free to sign up to those. Or if you do have any suggestions of any webinars you would like to see, email us at consultants@proteansoftware.co.uk. Or check out our support website. All the webinars are published on our website within 24 hours of them going live. So if you do want any one of your colleagues to then watch this webinar or any other ones that we've done, please refer them back to the website is support@proteansoftware.co.uk. Sorry, support.proteansoftware.co.uk. And then we've got the webinars option just under the right hand side of the screen from there. Right, take care. Speak to you all soon. Goodbye.